Next is biological weak link. And this is where you're looking at where is the organism's point of greatest vulnerability? Where is its weak link? If you're trying to reduce that weed, for example, in that pasture situation, weeds typically weakest link is in the seedling stage. So you want to, okay, reduce, if we can reduce the favorable germination sites by having more vigorous plants and no bare soil, then that action would address the biological weak link. And this also can be used in a situation where you want to increase the number of a particular organism. If you want to see more birds or more particular type of wildlife, you would look at where's that weak link in its life cycle and try to strengthen that area. The third type of weak link test is the financial, and this relates to where's the weak link in the chain of production. And this is the chain of production. Looking at the resource conversion, product conversion, or market conversion, or marketing or money conversion. Each of these aspects deal with different parts of the production chain. The resource conversion, this is when you're looking at where you have insufficient ability, for example, to convert sunlight into raw resources, for example, grass or produce, or lack sufficient raw resources. Maybe you lack sufficient money, maybe be lacking to be able to create a product. So that would be your weak link. Or you may have a situation where you have raw resources, but lack the capacity to convert that into a marketable form. In that case, you have a product conversion weak link. Or you may have created this great product or service, but you're having difficulty selling it. Then in that situation, you have a market weak link. And we'll go through an example here to illustrate that. Again, if we have that example above where we're talking about the cause and effect, and we're dealing with that weed, and we got a situation where we have bare soil, we have low grass production, there's a low vigor. Well, we're looking at so we're trying to look for ways to enhance that resource conversion. Maybe one solution to that would be additional fencing so we can do a better job of a rotational grazing system. Or in another situation, we may have abundant grass. And in that case, we don't have enough animals to utilize that grass, so we're going to essentially address that product conversion by potentially buying more animals. That way we'll convert that resource into a product that we could sell. Now we have lots of animals, but now we have a problem now we have no local outlet. So these are ways to focus resources in a way to enhance this product conversion in your financial weak link. So you're putting your money and resources in the area that you need it the most in order to enhance. This is where we'll talk a lot more about this next week when we talk about enterprises, and this is where these really apply to specific enterprises and figuring out where you need to put your money and resources to enhance that enterprise. You can also look at it on the skill side of things, where you, for example, have a friend that has a nursing degree but she wanted to do something different, and she really enjoys and trying to see immediate results. So the thing that she was wanting to look at is massage therapy. So she was lacking in the skills and certification in massage, being able to be a massage therapist. So she went back to school and addressed that lack of skills. Then after that, she addressed that lack of skills. The next thing that came along was, well, she had no way she didn't have a location or a place to do her massage therapy. So now she needed to buy some equipment, a chair, and also have a place of where she could have customers come in to do the massage therapy. So now since she addressed that weak link, now the challenge became more, okay, now I need to have customers. So then her weak link became on the marketing side of things. So that, it's figuring out where at this particular moment in time, where do you need to focus your resources. I think we're going to do another poll, and this question is I'll turn it over to Colette to run this second poll.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. So our second question is, where is the weak link in your enterprise? So if you take a few minutes to think about your enterprise and where is your weak link? So resource, product, marketing, or you don't know. So almost half of our attendees have voted. 75%, 85%. Just have a couple more people to vote. Okay, I'm going to close the poll with 95% of our participants having voted and share the results. So 37% of people said their weak link was in the resource, 5% in the product, 42% in marketing, and 16% said that they don't know.
Okay, so that will be something we'll look at in more detail next week, but I just wanted you to start thinking about that process and how that you would be able to use that weak link analysis in evaluating a particular enterprise. But we'll cover that in more detail next week. Okay. For some reason, I'm not able to remove the next slide here. There we go. The next test we look at is the margin of action. This test is used when a person is comparing two or more actions. And essentially, it's trying to get down to which action provides the greatest return in terms of your holistic goal for the time or money spent. It really helps you to prioritize your efforts, as time is a finite resource, and it plays a really important role in evaluating expenses when we go into the holistic financial planning. It's really a subjective test. You get a combination of numbers and what makes the most sense. Here's an example. For example, if your financial weak link is marketing, you can look at, you're considering two actions. I want to advertise in the newspaper, or maybe I want also considering creating a website. So you would look at numbers. Well, for advertising every month for the whole year, it's going to cost you a little over $2,000 to create your website. $1,200 plus you got web design and service, and then the ongoing maintenance fee. So you look at those and figure out, okay, where's my audience? Based on your holistic goal, which of these actions would move you close to the farthest towards your holistic goal for the money spent? And again, it would depend on your whole under management and your holistic goal. The gross profit analysis, again, we will spend a lot more time on this next week. It's really when you're comparing two or more enterprises and which of these enterprises contribute the most to covering the overhead costs. And like I say, I will cover, just going to mention this one briefly this week, but next week we'll go into a lot more detail on the gross profit analysis. The other question comes up, one of the other next testing guideline is energy, money, source, and use. There's two questions related to this test, and one is looks at how the energy and money is to be used in this action. Is it derived from the most appropriate source in terms of your holistic goal? The other question that is asked is, will the way in which the energy or money is to be used lead you toward your holistic goal? So one is how it's being used, and the other one is what's the source, and how this source of the money, is it derived from the most action appropriate for your holistic goal? For example, you're looking at energy sources. Is this energy source that's providing this action abundant? Is it, for example, being driven by solar energy, or is it finite and it's powered by fossil fuels? On the money side of things, is the money that's being used to implement this action from internal sources, from savings or income generated from the business, or is it from external sources? If it's from external sources, for example, from a bank, you're dealing with compound interest, and if it's in your holistic goal to be debt free, maybe that source may not be the most appropriate may not move you toward your holistic goal. You may have to do it anyway, but at least you know what the consequences of that decision is.